What's going on, guys? Afflicted here. Got another video for you today, and this time we're gonna be doing a little something different today. Um, like I said, I'm gonna be doing some more WoW videos, so I thought the first thing we could do here is take a look at the World of Warcraft Legion talent calculator. And Legion is new expansion coming out for WoW. It's scheduled, I think, summer 2016. So it's not that far away, but it's not that close. But the beta is definitely going to be coming out soon, as well as the pre-patch and things like that. So I definitely want to be ahead of the game. And so we're going to do a little talent review here. We're going to take a look and see what we've got here. And I've also got the PvP talent calculator lined up, ready to go, so we can take a look at those as well. And we're just going to go through each talent and try to decide what would be best for PvP, because that's what I mainly do, and that's what this YouTube channel is going to be based around. It's just arena PvP, some battlegrounds thrown in there. So let's take a look and we'll see what we got here. So first up, pretty standard, just Haunt, just a spell that Warlocks have had for ages, Affliction Warlocks, and they just took the spell out of your spell book and put it into a talent calculator. So if you want your main damage amplifier, you're going to have to spec into it now. Not sure I agree with that. I think that they should do something a little bit more creative than just taking abilities that you have now in the game and making you choose between them. So if you want Haunt, gotta spec into it. Writhe and Agony. Agony's damage may not ramp up twice as high. That sounds good right off hand, as long as you can keep the stacks at a maximum. Right now it's really important to keep your Agony at 10 stacks permanently, but if you chose this talent, it would be double as important. So I guess it all depends on if you're trying to do more single target damage with Haunt, or maybe doing a little bit more spread pressure here with Agonies. Another thing you would have to look out for is if you're playing against a healer that can dispel curses, such as a shaman or a druid, then maybe this talent would not be as good. But if you're playing against a paladin or a priest, you could keep the stack on all of the opponents in the arena almost indefinitely. So that could be something to choose. Another thing that I'm thinking is that now that Unstable Affliction costs a soul shard, you're not going to be able to have it up on everyone all the time. So there's not going to be a whole lot of dispel protection like there is now. So your Agony could get dispelled a lot more. So this talent, really comp dependent on what you're going against. So hopefully you'll be able to see what you're going against in the starter area in arenas like you can now. Drain Soul, same thing here. They just took the ability that we have right now and they just put it in the talent tree. So Haunt and Drain Soul, both abilities that you have now as an Affliction Warlock in WoD, they took out and they put in the tree. So in my opinion, Drain Soul wouldn't really be a choice unless you're doing a very specific single target strategy. Drain Soul most likely won't be an option unless they mess with the numbers a lot and it's just a flat out damage increase. Probably not a viable option, Drain Soul. Okay, so in my opinion, it would be between Haunt, Writhe and Agony, and all depends on the team that you're going against. Okay, so for tier 30 here, let's see. Contagion. Unstable Affliction also increases all damage you deal to the target by 5%. Now, right offhand, that seems good, but that seems really good. But it's almost like a mini Haunt. But you have to remember that Unstable Affliction now costs a soul shard, so you're going to be having a limited amount of UAs going out at a time. So we're going to come back to this. Let's check out what else we got here. Also, by the way, I've taken a brief look at these to form a initial opinion, but I haven't really went in depth. So we're just kind of rolling with it as we go here. Okay, Absolute Corruption. Corruption is now permanent 60 seconds, 60-second duration against players. That could be really good for things like RBGs where you just simply do not mathematically have enough globals to dot the entire team. But for something like a Arena where every healer can dispel magic, and like we discussed earlier, there's not as much dispel protection with UA costing a shard, I don't think that this is a very viable talent, just because corruption costs a global, at best, no cast time, very easy to reapply. I don't think this is very good. Even for PvE, I don't see this being very good. So I don't think Absolute Corruption is going to be very viable. Mana Tap. Consumes 40% of current mana to grant 15% increased damage for 20 seconds. So that seems to be something similar to Soulburn Han. Now I can tell you right now at WOD, I have not used Life Tap one single time. Not once. Never. And I've just never had to. So mana has never been an issue for me. So if they don't adjust the numbers, then this could be a very viable spell depending on what the mana region is like and what the mana costs are like. I would gladly give up 40% of my mana right now to gain 15% increased damage for 20 seconds. That sounds great. So comparing that to Contagion, it would all depend on mana cost. Probably Mana Tap will be the best, because it's almost like a second Dark Soul. 15% increased damage for 20 seconds. That's fantastic. So most likely Mana Tap will be the option there, unless Soul Shards are unlimited. Okay, so we're gonna go with Mana Tap, and then we'll just switch between these two, like we discussed earlier. So tier 45 seems to be the crowd control and survivability. So let's see here. Soul Leech, drain life and drain soul, grant you and your pet shadowy shield that absorbs damage. That's not going to be very good at all. Very, very rarely do you drain soul, and like we discussed earlier, we're not going to take, drain life, and we're not going to take the drain soul for the first talent because I don't think it's very viable. So Soul Leech, not good, don't pick it. And it also offers no crowd control, so do not pick that. Mortal Coil. It's just a standard coil. Here they just put in a talent once again, and it seems like they put Howl of Terror right up next to it. So this is just going to be another comp dependent thing, depending on what composition you're running. Maybe you want Howl of Terror, maybe you want Coil for the single target damage burst. So in my opinion, Coil is going to be the superior choice here because Howl of Terror will break. Oh, actually, reading this a bit closer, when you are reduced below 30% health, you release a Howl of Terror. So it's not even the standard Howl. It's only once you're below 30% health. And it's a 5-second fear with a 1-minute cooldown. Okay, so for sure you're going to want Coil. I can't think of any situation where Howl of Terror would be better. You don't want to reach below 30% health, and if you do, you're most likely going to die to an execute anyway. So I think Mortal Coil is definitely the better choice. Even if this was the standard Howl of Terror that we're all used to, I think even then Coil would still edge out a little bit. But with this new Howl of Terror, definitely Mortal Coil going to be the better. More survivability because it does heal you a little bit, and single target crowd control for the kill opportunities. Tier 60. Let's see here. Siphon Life. 40-yard range. Siphon the target's life essence, dealing damage over 15 seconds and healing you for the damage dealt. So this would appear to be a drain life dot, almost. Well, it's an instant cast, it seems. Doesn't look like it has any cooldown. So if this is just another damage over time effect that heals you, that would be fantastic if I'm understanding this correctly. So a damage over time effect that heals you. Well, that right now that sounds great. I can't see how any of the other ones would be better, but let's see. Seed of Corruption will now consume a soul shard if available. Okay, you don't use Seed of Corruption at all, ever, in Arena, so we're skipping that. It's a waste of a global. Soul Harvest, 2-second cast, 2-minute cooldown, refill 5 soul shards. Well, are we going to have 5 soul shards maximum now? Is that what that is, instead of 3? Or however many we have now, I forget right offhand. The 2-second cast is what gets me. A lot of enemy teams tunnel you as a warlock, and getting a 2-second cast off would be difficult at best. So, I guess in that situation though, Siphon Life would certainly be better because of the healing. So I guess it all depends on what team you're going against. If you think that you're going to get trained into the ground and you'll never have time to cast, a 2-second cast, then Siphon Life is certainly better because it's also going to provide you more survivability. So once again, this is just a situational talent here. But I really do like Siphon Life if I'm understanding it correctly. So we're going to go with that. Now this next tier, I think this was a very poor decision. As you can see here on the first talent, tier 75, we have Port. They have made Port into a talent. And don't ask me why they did this. But they took an ability that Warlocks have had for ages, and now they're making you choose between, do you want extra defensives, or would you like, your main mobility spell, your only mobility spell besides Gate? I don't even think I need to read the rest of these to decide that Port's going to be better, because just imagine for a second, okay, you're a Warlock and you're in an arena game, and you don't have Port, okay? You're not going to live very long at all. So Burning Rush increases your movement speed. That's definitely not good because it sacrifices health. And Dark Pact. This could be viable for teams that have burst in a 1-minute cooldown. Maybe against a Subtlety Rogue that has Shadow Dance in a 1-minute cooldown. But just putting it up against your Port is just bad. It's bad. It's not even viable. So we're going with Port here. Hopefully they'll revise the talents here and find something a little bit more creative than taking a required ability and throwing it in the talent tree. I think that's stupid at every level. So that's a no-brainer right there. Tier 90. It seems that nothing has changed here in T90. They just have, the better pet, second pet, and sack pet. So everything seems to be the same. So you would just, do exactly what you do now. If you're going against a dock lead that you think your pet's going to be in trouble, then you just go sack. If not, you go supremacy. Very standard. So we'll just go supremacy here. And let's see, level 100. Now these I have not taken a look at, so it's going to be first time I look at these, so let's see. Soul Effigy. Create a Soul Effigy bound to the target. It's a 1.5 second cast, 40-yard range. Create a Soul Effigy bound to the target, which is attackable by only the Warlock. 50% of all damage taken by the Effigy is replicated onto the original target. Limit of 1, and it lasts 10 minutes. So this seems to be a 50% damage increase onto one target, because I'm assuming you would just dot this Effigy up like you would a different, enemy, as if it was 3v4. you would just dot up the effigy as well, and the target would take an increased 50% damage from the dots. So it could be pretty good. In fact, now that I look at this talent, the talents here that increase the duration of your dots, you could, for example, put those on your effigy, and those would just last, permanently or longer, and you would never have to reapply them. You would just apply them once and almost forget about them. So it could be a potential global waster, or not waster, but spender. It would cost a lot more globals to dot 4 people than it would to dot 2 or 3. So this, you would really need to be able to cast freely for FGB reach its maximum potential. So let's see. Phantom Singularity. Place a 40-yard range, 1 minute cooldown. Place a Phantom Singularity above the target, which consumes the life of all enemies within a 25-yard radius, dealing damage every 2 seconds for 16 seconds, healing you for 30% of the damage done. So it seems to be an AoE dot and heal. 1 minute cooldown, and it lasts for 16 seconds. So about a 44-second downtime. Well, once again here, if you're going against a team that's going to be training you, maybe like a melee cleave, for example, that would be stacked on top of themselves most of the game, this would be pretty viable, I think. Just because you're going to be getting a lot of AoE damage in, and therefore a lot of AoE healing in. So I think that this could very well be an option. So once again, I think it's going to be very comp dependent. If you got a lot of free time to cast and you're not going to be getting trained as much and you don't need to worry about dying as much, you'll go with Soul Effigy probably. Otherwise, you'd probably go Phantom Singularity for the because it's an instant cast. Don't have to worry about casting. You don't have to worry about spending the globals. It's just one global, and it's AoE and it heals you. So if you're under a lot of pressure, this would probably help out a lot. And as far as Demonic Servitude goes, this is just the the standard talent that we have right now that we don't skip because the Fell Hunter is more than enough, or Observer now I guess we have. So it's definitely between Soul Effigy and Singularity here. Okay, so that about does it for the initial talents. Now we're going to take a look here at the PvP talents. Now I don't know right offhand what you have to do to get these. I'm assuming they work in arena because it says PvP talents and not battleground talents. So we're going to look at these. We're going to assume that everyone gets all of these eventually. I don't know what you have to do, spend honor, I'm not sure. We're going to assume that everyone gets these and that they work in arena. Okay, so we're just going to go down the list here like we did with the others. So right off the bat, we have Gladiator's Medallion, which is essentially the 2-minute PvP trinket. So this is a human racial and a talent. So if you're not a human, and by the way, I think in Legion they're changing the human racial to a stun breaker instead of all CC breakers. So that's something to think about. If you didn't want to wear a PvP trinket, you could just spec into this talent here. Now, before we decide whether or not it's going to be the best, we're going to take a look at the rest. So obviously a PvP trinket is necessary. If you don't want to wear one, you need this talent, or you need to be a human. Okay, so keep that in mind. Adaptation. Okay, all loss of crowd control effects with a duration of 5 seconds or longer will be removed shortly after being applied. Has a 1.50 minute cooldown. So almost a 1 minute 30-second cooldown, or well, I can only think of one CC right offhand, the Polymorph and Hex, that lasts longer than 5 seconds. Well, I guess Fear and such is technically 6. But this being such a long cooldown, I can't see. And with the amount of CC that you get hit with in a game, this is not going to be a viable option. So we're going to go ahead and skip that. Relentless. Duration of all incoming crowd control effects reduced by 25%. So this is similar to the Orc Racial that reduces stun duration. I think, in my opinion, this is going to be fantastic talent, especially for healers. Just imagine being an Orc Shaman with this talent and a PvP trinket on. Stuns will be very short. So I think the optimal setup will be PvP trinket plus Relentless here. That's what I would go with anyway, so that's what we're going to go with. Next tier. Train of Thought. Damage increased by 15%. Being attacked will cancel this effect for 8 seconds. A 15% damage increase indefinitely is absolutely insane. However, no team with a brain will let you go 8 seconds without being attacked. Okay, so you can almost certainly skip this. I can't right offhand think of a class that completely goes untouched in any arena game. So maybe in RBGs, if you're just turreting from the back, this would be great. But as far as the arena goes, any team with a brain, this is not going to do anything. So skip that. Mind Quickness increases haste by 15%. That's just a flat 15% haste buff, and which is fantastic. So I can't imagine anything would be better than this. So we'll go with that for now. Initiation, critical chance increased by 30% on targets at or above 80% health. Critical hit chance is not something we're looking for as an Affliction Warlock. So we're going with Mind Quickness. Haste is our best stat. Helps you juke better, juke more efficiently, and get dots up faster. So definitely want this. This next tier I'm pretty excited about. These abilities got removed with Miss Pandaria, I believe it was. And here they are again. So we have, up first, Curse of Tongues. Forces the target to speak in demonic, increasing the casting time of all spells by 30% for 10 seconds. So it's just a standard Curse of Tongues. I think the duration might be a little bit reduced. But this actually has a 15-second cooldown, which is something I didn't see before. So this has a 15-second cooldown, and it lasts for 10 seconds. So you could not spam this on all the casters on the enemy team like you could before. So keep that in mind. It's a great spell, but has a cooldown now. So you gotta keep that in mind. Curse of Weakness, same deal. Reduces the target's physical damage dealt by 25% for 10 seconds. Now this has a 20-second cooldown as opposed to 15-second. So just right offhand, you could just tell it's going to be comp dependent. If you can change these in the starting area of the arena, it's just going to matter. Are you against a caster? Are you against melee? Whichever one you need. So Curse of Fragility. Reduces the target's maximum health by 20% for 10 seconds. I don't see that being very useful, just because they're going to have the same effective health. So I'm not real sure why this would be any better. It doesn't do damage, it just reduces their health for 10 seconds. So I think that Weakness in Tongues is definitely going to be the better pick, depending on what comp you're against, because the enemies are going to want to deal damage, and you're going to need to stop them dealing damage. So either caster or melee, take your pick. Okay, next tier. Improved Health Funnel. Health Funnel reduces damage taken by your pet by 20%. That sounds pretty good. A lot of teams do train your pet, try to kill that to get rid of Soul Link. So just in case you want to keep your pet alive, you could always, grab this talent. The thing is, you always have the option of either sacrificing your pet so that you don't have to worry about it, or getting out a Voidwalker so that you still have Soul Link, but your pet becomes virtually unkillable. So you wouldn't even need to worry about its health. So this probably won't be selected. It's a cool idea, but you know, probably not necessary. Improved Helstone. Looks like it's not yet announced, but you can just assume that it's going to be a health increase to how much your Helstone heals, which is great. You use Helstone almost every game, so that will probably be a very good option. Now, Demon Skin increases the healing bonus of your Fel armor. Healing received by your demons is increased by 15%. Well, we don't even need to know what improved Helstone is. This is going to be the best option. Increases your healing received and increases your pet's healing received, both of which need to be healed throughout the game. Pick this talent. Very simple. Next tier. Borrowed Souls. Unstable Affliction refunds 1 soul shard when it is dispelled or ends its duration. Well, knowing that Unstable Affliction costs a soul shard, this essentially refunds the soul shard when it's dispelled or the duration is over. So that sounds great. Essentially makes it a free cost if you're willing to wait for the dispel or the end. So that seems really good. Nightmares. Fear causes your damage over time effects on the target to manifest into nightmares. The nightmares deal 70% of their remaining periodic damage and generate 1 soul shard. Okay. So your fear essentially increases what instantly causes your dots to take for 70% of their damage, and it generates a soul shard. So it's almost like your fear is a DPS increase. That's certainly interesting, but what I would say, what comes to mind, is that's just putting the target on fear DR. What if you need to peel suddenly and they go offensive? That would be a very bad idea. So could be cool. It's a neat concept, but you really would have to watch your diminishing returns and make sure that you're not just wasting fear DR aimlessly for damage. So it's a cool option. You would have to be careful with that though. Siphon Soul, your Drain Life grants 1 soul shard every 3 ticks. Like we discussed before, you don't really use Drain Life, and certainly not for 3 ticks long. You're going to get interrupted or you're going to need to put dots in. So Siphon Soul, probably not an option. So we're going to go ahead and skip that. I really did like Borrowed Souls, so that's what we're going to go with. And finally, we have the last tier. Now this looks like it's going to be quite interesting. So let's start with Soul Swap first because we know what we got here. So, Soul Swap. It says 100 soul shards, but we're going to assume it just costs 1 soul shard. So, you know what you're getting with this spell. Copies your dots over. Very important. Also, let's go back here to the initial talent calculator. If you were to get Writhe and Agony, where it ramps up twice as high, that would mean 20 stacks. And you could copy over a 20 stack Agony with Soul Swap. So just keep that in mind. You know, if you go Writhe and Agony, you may as well go Soul Swap just to make sure you keep 20 stack Agonies on their entire team. Okay. Next up, Lasting Affliction increases the duration of an unstable affliction by 6 seconds. That seems good. Seems pretty good. Especially good, I would suppose, if you're getting trained and you're unable to cast as many UAs as you would like. However, with the Borrowed Souls talent that we just received, it pretty much makes UA a free cast because it costs a shard, but Borrowed Souls gives you your shard back. So you could just simply recast it as soon as it's over. You don't need it to last longer because you're going to get the shard back. So I don't see Lasting Affliction being that useful, to be honest. Unless you're against a team where you're not going to get that many dots out. Or, going back to the initial calculator, you go with Contagion here, which is a 5% damage increase to targets that have UA on them. Maybe then you would want Lasting Affliction to make sure that they continue to take the 5% increased damage. So it's just all about talent synergy here. You know, if you get one, you need to grab the other as well. A lot of foresight would have to go into these. Now, as our last talent for the video, we have Amplify Afflictions. Reduces the global cooldown of your curses, agony, corruption, and UA by 0.5 seconds. Now, I don't know what the haste numbers are going to be like. I don't know how fast the globals are going to be. I'm not sure on the cast time of UA yet. But right offhand, this seems to be amazing, especially in RPGs. Imagine having, all of your globals reduced. Okay, this seems good, but I think that it's really going to depend on what team you go against. If you're against a team like a Casually, for example, where you have time to dot everyone and you don't need increased global speed, then maybe you want Soul Swap or Lasting Affliction, uh, where you don't, you could just take your time dotting everyone. So like all talents, it seems it's going to be very comp dependent. So that about does it for the two talent trees. My overall impressions is that they have a lot of cool ideas here. I really like some of the talents they did, but I really don't like them taking out mandatory abilities from the game right now and throwing them in a talent tree and making you pick. I think that's lazy design. I think that's a poor design choice, and I don't like it. Hopefully, they come up with something better to replace those talents. But all in all, I think Affliction Warlocks are looking to be in a good place, depending on how the UA changes costing a shard works. But that's going to do it for this video. Thanks everybody for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. See ya.